The saga is over, Luke. We finally have a new name. We will officially be known as, from the point of this video being uploaded, Dankpol. And we might even have an image to go along with it, a new, that's not just Bart Simpson. So that's going to be good. And I think it's because, well, as we've established, dank means correct, and pole means pole.
It works out pretty well, I think. Yeah, I think we've got a really solid name here, which I came up with.
But you know who isn't Dankpol?
Who?
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. Oh God, Michael, what did he do? What did Barack Obama do?
Well, he basically said that defund the police was a bad slogan, pretty much.
Now you are correct, Michael, and that is what we are going to be discussing today, whether Barack Obama is correct, and whether Democrats should listen to his advice on slogans like defund the police. This is from The Hill. Former President Obama said political candidates lose support when using snappy slogans like defund the police. Obama told Peter Hambury, who hosts a Snapchat political show, Good Luck America, that those who use the slogan could jeopardise their goals of enacting meaningful reforms for police. You lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done, the former president said. The key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with? Obama added. That was the same interview, by the way, that he said black men supported Trump
because of
more
rap.
than usual. Yeah, because of rap. So yeah, he was really on the ball in this interview.
Yes.
And he said something as well later, which we'll get onto. But for now, Michael, let's just talk about this. Is he right? Of course, he's an incredibly important figure in the Democratic Party. People are going to listen to him. He's the former president of the United States. His words carry a lot of sway. So, yeah, what do you think about his opinion on defund the police?
Well, we've already kind of covered this to an extent, so maybe shout out to one of our former videos we did on why did the Democrats underperform in 2020. I'll leave a link to it in the description probably, where basically we go through, is it because of the progressive policies? And the answer we came to is no. I don't think we covered defund the police specifically. I think we pretty much concluded progressive policies are obviously going to be hindered if you have a lame, moderate presidential candidate. Like, it kind of makes sense that if you've got a candidate like Biden who's going to naturally disincline people to support progressive policies, but I think we also showed that even then there are instances where progressive policies outperform Biden's.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not sure people really like defund the police. I think people would support defunding the police and moving resources to other more important areas. And of course, that's what defund the police actually means. But yeah, maybe that's what Obama's talking about with the snappy slogan. But I don't think it is, and we'll get onto that later. But so essentially, the question that he asked was do the electoral implications of defund the police mean you can't say it? I mean, you look at how, like we said before in the video, Democrats underperformed in the 2020 election. You know, the only way it could have happened is if Dems didn't bother to offer a counter-narrative or define what they stood for, and that's definitely the case. Yeah. And I think it's no secret at all, really, that the stuff about defund the police and socialism came out after the election from corporate Democrats as a way to save face.
Yeah.
Democrats, I think, screwed this election up monumentally because, like we said before, it was about the economy, it's always about the economy, and it's still about the economy, and the Democrats did not realise it. Just look at this graphic up on your screen right now.
Yeah.
Economic messaging overlooked by top racist digital efforts. Yes, AOC, Beto, and Doug Jones are all correct. Democrats can do digital much better. Issues include messaging and execution. And yeah, all of those politicians, AOC, Doug Jones, are exactly right. Look at this. Of the 23,000 Facebook ads Sarah Gideon ran this cycle, that was the challenger to Susan Collins in the Senate seat of Maine, Zero out of 23,000 included written copy with the words jobs or economy.
Wow.
And this is in a pandemic, a massive recession. 0 ads included jobs or economy. Yeah, and as of the 15th of November, Biden has gotten almost 95,000 more votes than Gideon. You know, that should tell you something right there. Yeah, and a similar thing to Gideon here. As of the 15th of November, incumbent Governor Roy Cooper, who is a Democrat, got 261,000 more votes than Cunningham. So why is it that the incumbent governor in North Carolina got 250,000, over 250,000 more votes than his Democratic colleague? And also, Sarah Gideon got almost 100,000 less votes than Joe Biden. I mean, they're all Democrats, but clearly the people who didn't talk about the economy suffered greatly and lost their races. What do you make of that, Michael?
Yeah, so it sounds like kind of the point you're getting at here is was defund the police maybe something which could put the broad electorate off? Maybe, but the point is it isn't the thing which did that.
Absolutely not.
So while it is true that definitely, maybe defund the police isn't the best thing to say from an electoral standpoint, the point is that's not why the Democrats lost, and the Democrats are being very disingenuous by acting as if it's these cultural issues and the framing of those that has cost them the election, when it is clearly, their messaging on the economy and by extension, I think, just their general messaging. Because let's be honest, if you're not messaging on the economy, which is, as you've said, the most important thing, as Bill Clinton, that famous progressive Democrat once said, it's all about the economy. If you're not messaging right on that, then you're not messaging right on anything, really. So basically, the Democrats, the moderate Democrats, need to look at themselves.
It's very clear from looking at the evidence, the fact that Biden lost out with low-income voters compared to Trump, that was definitely the reason. I mean, you think about who would be put off really defund the police stuff. It would be probably suburban moderates, right? But they turned out for Biden much higher than Trump. So I think this is the Democrats with this narrative, and Obama has joined in here, completely trying to scupper the actual conversation to preserve their place in the party. And if you look at the Democrats under Obama, they lost 1,000 seats across his 2 terms because they didn't know how to win elections. Basically, they didn't run on populist stuff. They didn't run on, for example, increasing the minimum wage, Medicare for all, stuff that is, popular with the American people, and it cost them. But that's the thing, though. Even if Obama was right and defund the police did cost the Democrats some seats, I think it's worth it. Because I've seen some people on Twitter saying there's never been so much talk concerning the police and reallocating resources since Defund the Police came up. I mean, many of the cities that this is being protested in are controlled by the Democrats. And, Defund the Police is specific and can actually help concentrate efforts to achieve those specific goals in those Democrat cities. It's pointless not basically going all in for Defund the Police in a city like Minneapolis when only Democrats are going to get elected. That can actually produce real change instead of, fluffy, meaningless, yes, we can slogans that achieve nothing. And
that's true. Heart and soul of the nation, Luke. But basically, and the other thing is that you can shift the Overton window even without winning elections. So I think it's very likely that, like you say, it's brought that into the conversation, and obviously that isn't going to harm the Democrats in places where they're obviously going to be doing well no matter what. So basically, it kind of it does help to shift it in the right direction as far as actually achieving something goes. Which you think that'd be what Obama would like if he's into yes we can and getting results.
Yeah, exactly. It's an incredibly ambitious proposal, but that it actually stands for something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's clear.
And that's the irony. Obama's "Yes We Can" slogan was a snappy slogan, but it did nothing. Defund the police, yes, it is a slogan, but it's also a policy goal. The reallocation of resources. That can actually help. And that's the irony of this. Maybe that's what Obama thinks defund the police is, just a snappy slogan, because that's all he knows, apparently.
Maybe whenever he hears anything, he just no matter what it is, he thinks that's a terrible snappy slogan. So when he hears Bernie Sanders stand up and go, we're going to get Medicare for all, and we're going to get it through taxing the billionaires, Obama thinks, oh, that's a really bad snappy slogan, because that's the only way he can understand politics.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that's the real reason. Of course, that's just a fun thing to suggest, considering that, of course, the "Yes We Can" thing was the most bland, hopey, changey stuff, as Sarah Palin rightly called him out on. Yeah, that means nothing and achieves nothing. And what do you know? Obama's elected. Oh, nothing actually changes. What a surprise. And I think a good demonstration of this is a cartoon from Eli Valley. And I think you've seen this, Michael. It's a conversation between Barack Obama and Frederick Douglass.
Oh, yes, I have seen that, yes.
So as you can tell, it's up on your screen right now. Frederick Douglass. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And then Obama's saying, couple notes on your phrasing. You lose a big audience the minute you say demand. Just spitballing here, but how about power concedes nothing without a suggestion offered in the gentlest spirit of compromise that change we can believe in will emerge over the course of multiple generations because yes we can. My Obama accent went a bit there, but I just wanted to make it clear what he said. And actually, what's funny about that last bubble of speech is that probably could have come from a Pete Buttigieg speech throughout his presidential campaign. Actually, do you remember that Pete Buttigieg, who of course tried to copy Obama, condemned Donald Trump's racism and also the radical movements of the 1960s? He actually said that in a debate.
Oh, wow.
I.e. the civil rights movements, which of course that's what you have to be referring to, right?
Yeah,
or the anti-war Vietnam protests. That's literally what Buttigieg said. So yeah, and he's copying Obama. So I think that cartoon does a good job of distilling how pathetic Obama's response is, how cowardly it is. And also we have to look at this graphic, which is up on your screen right now. It's titled "White on Demonstration by Negroes, October 1966." The question is, all in all, do you feel that demonstrations by Negroes on civil rights have helped more or hurt more in the advancement of Negro rights? And white respondents only 15% said it helped and 85% said it hurt.
Wow.
So, and of course, a lot changed in the 1960s because black people demanded change. They, did things that made white moderates, I guess, unhappy. But look at that. Guess what? Frederick Douglass was right. Power concedes nothing without demand. You got to demand stuff. You got to make people feel uncomfortable, and that's how change occurs. And so, even if defund the police did, lose a couple of Democrats their seats, overall, it's worth it because that's how change actually gets done. And you just need to look at history for that to be the case. History, the most famous era in perhaps American history, the 1960s, to realize that. Yes, change happens when people protest, when politicians who look to, I don't know, Michael, maybe be a bit of a parasite on these movements, seek to redirect that energy into their political campaigns. That's when change definitely does not happen, wouldn't you say?
No, yeah, but I think we've got to remember the most important thing about MLK, the main thing that gave him his success, which is that he wore a suit. Unlike these current Black Lives Matter activists who walk around wearing their Air Jordans or whatever else, because that's the most important thing, the appearance of credibility. I mean, I will say this. I'll say this. Pete Buttigieg, at least by condemning the civil rights movement, he is being consistent because it's much better. I prefer it over the people who act as if MLK was this moderate Obama type. At least Pete Buttigieg is like, whoa, slow down, MLK. Let's not go crazy with this.
He accidentally let the mask slip, and that's the thing. People like Pete Buttigieg, and it seems Barack Obama as well, would have, if they had been alive in the 1960s, would have been like, oh, hold on there, MLK, slow down there. What do you mean I have a dream? What about I have a logical policy proposition? What about that? That sounds much better and palatable to these white moderates. But yeah, of course, we know what happened. The civil rights era got enacted because people demanded change, and people weren't just going to sit back and let the oppression continue as long as it didn't upset the so-called white moderate, as MLK said. But here's the thing, though, Michael. Here's the thing. You could argue that Obama actually believes what he's saying, that defund the police is a bad slogan. I don't think that's the case. I think he has an ulterior motive. What do you think about that?
No, yeah. I mean, well, I've seen lots of people come out and say something to the effect of, Obama, and this has been, black people saying this, obviously a fair few white people, but it matters more when black people say it, because obviously this is about black rights. I've seen black people come out and say, they love Obama because they think Obama, he's actually achieved results for them, and that, these other people, they haven't won any elections. Obama won too, He knows he's not got any more elections to run because he won both of them. Remember that? So, they're saying Obama won. Obama achieved things in the electoral sphere, and that shows that he's right when he says that we need to be conscious in terms of how we're wording our desire for progressive policies. And I've seen people come out and say basically that's what Obama's idea is, I guess, that he is deep down somebody who wants the advancement of black people, wants general progressive policies, but he is making concessions in order to be more electoral. But deep down, he's a progressive guy who would, stand alongside Martin Luther King, everyone else in demanding these rights. But it's just a matter of what's, acceptable and palatable.
Yeah,
do you believe that?
Exactly. No, I don't. No,
oh, yeah,
I don't.
Well, you already said he had an ulterior motive.
Yes, exactly, yes. Deep down, well, that's the thing. You could argue, Barack Obama really cares about these issues, and he just doesn't think that people saying defund the police is the right way to go about it. But knowing the man, like I do, i.e. just looking at his quotes and what he's done in his life, I disagree. I think what Barack Obama wants to do more than anything right now is deliberately slow progress to make himself look better. Because here's the thing. Barack Obama is someone who does not care about the issues facing everyday Americans. That much is clear. Remember when he took that sip of water at Flint?
Oh, yeah,
the Flint water crisis? Yeah. Just absolutely. The room was stunned. They couldn't believe it. Absolutely psychopathic. No empathy whatsoever. He has just used the Democratic Party to advance his career. And to be fair, that is what really the Democratic Party is. I think Asita Nuevu sums it up quite well. He says that the Democratic Party is less a political party in pursuit of particular policy goals than a professional association organised to defend and advance the careers of its most valued members. And yeah, I think that's the case, and none more so with Obama. You know, if I had to describe Obama, it's probably like a person who is incredibly detached from the world, who, you know, just wonders why everyone isn't as great as him. I'm going to use a superhero comparison, Dr. Manhattan, like that.
Yeah.
And even though we ragged on liberals for doing it last week, this is different. And this is different because Dr. Manhattan isn't just a good or evil character, you know, he's actually got some characteristics. And that's the key with Obama. Like, Dr. Manhattan sees himself as, you know, detached from humanity, someone who, you know, just doesn't understand these stupid humans and the mistakes they make. And I think it's with Obama. Like, he only cares about himself, and he thinks about himself that he's a god. And he's like, you can see when he turns on his charisma, you know, he knows. I mean, he's an incredibly smart person. He knows how he can just make people feel so lovely with his flowing words, you know, and his jokes that he makes. And yeah, he must think, oh, all you schmucks. That's what he must think inside when he's doing those speeches. All you schmucks, bang this up. Oh my God, I can't believe you.
Probably makes him feel very cynical, I would imagine, when you just out there and you realise the whole thing's just a game, just a performance.
Oh, he's an incredible, like, yeah, it's all a game. It is all a game to him. He's an incredibly cynical person. And yeah, I think what he cared about most during his presidency is having a great legacy, being, you know, known as one of the greatest presidents ever. And that's why he did what he did in power. Because I think really it's not so much ideological. It was, I'm going to try and cut Social Security. I'm going to try and do deals with Republicans. I'm not going to, you know, create a public option for healthcare, because all the smart people in, you know, the New York Times or the Washington Post, you know, they would praise him for trying to, you know, come to a grand bargain with Republicans to not pull the troops out of Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. And somebody pointed out on Twitter, I can't remember the tweet, but Obama is as much a consumer of that type of elite media, so New York Times, The Atlantic, Washington Post, etc., as Trump is of Fox News. You know, because they are both very, very keen to hear what people think about them and want people to like them. But here's the thing. The world has changed after Obama left. So many more social justice issues have popped up after Obama left, or during his final term as president. And I think he's desperately trying to slow progress to make it seem like there was nothing he could do while he was president. Because then, he knows he's going to get criticised if a bunch of things change just a few years after he's president. And this is a trick he does, and I'm going to have some evidence for this, Michael. A trick he does is he acknowledges that he did bad things, or bad things happened during his presidency, but then he acts like there's nothing he could do about it when, he gets criticised for it. Like, he does this great trick where he basically says, I don't really have any power as president. I'm just a manager of this massive capitalist empire. What can I do? I can just try to edge things in certain directions. I think a good example of this is drone strikes, for instance. In his book, he has this passage when talking about, killing people via drone strikes. I wanted someone to save them, send them to school, give them a trade, drain them of their hate that had been filling their heads. And yet, the world they were a part of, and the machinery I commanded, more often had me killing them instead. Did you see that?
That's a beautiful line.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't do anything. I just had to kill them. Basically,
because of the voices.
That was good. But he's removing his power. It's like, what can I do, man? What can I do? Yeah, and also he has this interview with Colbert that he's recently done, where he says that the drone strikes, because he got criticised for that quite a bit, they were better than combat, which is not true, by the way. But also, you had the power to take the troops out of those Middle Eastern areas. Again, he's acting like he's presented with this choice between, I got to drone them, or I got to send in the troops. Well, what can I do? I guess I'm going to have to drone them, guys. Yeah, how about you don't have that option entirely? How about, since you're the president of the United States, you try to de-escalate from that region? But yeah, that's just the way it is, man. He really can't do much. And another great example of this, actually, is when he talked about the BP oil spill, which happened in 2010. And there was this passage where he said how horrible it was how destructive and, how awful BP were, how we needed to move away from fossil fuels, etc. And then actually, when the Obama administration had a chance to investigate BP, he declined. They declined. They didn't want to do it. So you got this lovely passage in the book about the BP oil spill, how awful it was, how terrible. But actually, consequences? Nah, forget it. When he actually had the power to do something. Again, consistently acting like this guy doesn't have any power. Like he's the president of the United States. I believe they call that virtue signaling, I think.
Yeah, I just always remember the picture. I think Justin Trudeau tweeted himself at a climate change rally, and he was like, we're out here protesting for better laws when it comes to the environment. And one of the comments is just like, you're the prime minister, though. Why are you protesting? And that's kind of the thing. I do agree with you that I think Obama... I like the idea that it's about legacy. I think that's an interesting take, because I get the impression maybe that Obama, he wants to be viewed as one of those presidents where everyone likes them. Kind of a bit like, I guess, Lincoln, everyone's supposed to like him, George Washington, obviously, and Kennedy would be...
That's what he was going for.
I think that's what... And obviously, even as the Republicans at the time were hating him, I think Obama has this idea that maybe in 10, 20, 30 years... people will look back on him and everyone will be able to agree, well, he was one of the good presidents. And maybe that will be the case. You never know where the future's going, but I also agree with what you're saying, that it seems like things are moving in potentially a more radical direction. And certainly, if things go in a more radical direction, no one's going to remember Obama as anything other than, I guess, ineffectual. A bit like if you ever look at a list of the worst presidents, always on the list are the presidents that came immediately before the Civil War, and it's always kind of the same thing. They were weak, they basically engaged in compromises that tried to delay the war but totally failed, and I think about that, and I think, obviously, we're not talking about something equivalent to the Civil War, but if America begins to go down a more radical direction, one way or the other, frankly, then Obama's going to be viewed as one of those presidents who's just like, well, he was just a weak, loser, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, what he wants is America keeps going down the moderate Biden path, and it's like, oh, Obama was a real trailblazer. So yeah, it is about legacy. I agree with you. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, no, it completely is, and that fits in with his personality. And yeah, you mentioned going down a different direction. Well, this is where we get onto AOC.
Yes.
So President Obama had a quote in that article we talked about at the beginning concerning AOC. The DNC, I thought, was really successful. But the fact that AOC only got, 3 minutes or 5 minutes when she speaks to a broad section of young people who are interested in what she has to say. New blood is always good. Basically, AOC had too much of a short time. And it's just really funny when he talks about this stuff like a disinterested outsider who had no investment or seat at the table. Like, how did Miss Ocasio-Cortez get only 5 minutes? Why didn't anyone do anything? It's not like I was the former president of the Democratic Party and possibly the most powerful politician inside the party right now, especially as my vice president is now the nominee. I mean, you would think maybe he made some calls, but the funny thing is, I reckon he probably did.
Yes, calls the other way.
He probably was. Yeah, he calls the other way. Like, make sure AOC only gets 5 minutes, guys. And that's the thing. It's all about his image. That right again, he has no power. It's a complete trick. There are political choices that can be made in the world that can really fundamentally change people's lives, and politicians like AOC get that. And we right before, in the end, what he wants is people to love him, respect him, adore him, but he is worried he's not going to get it. I mean, people talk about Trump as being, an indictment of Obama, but for me, Bernie Sanders is the worst indictment.
Yeah.
That's the biggest indictment possible. That's why he got everyone to pull out of the primaries before Bernie Sanders looked like he was going to lock it up ahead of Super Tuesday to help Joe Biden. He made the calls to Buttigieg, Klobuchar to pull out and back Biden. It's why he seeks to stifle protest. I mean, he probably hates this Black Lives Matter movement. This stuff pops up, defund the police, the George Floyd stuff, just after a black guy was president. Well, why the hell didn't Obama do anything when he was president? That's what I think a lot of people will probably be asking themselves. I certainly this year have, I didn't like Obama already, but I've now understood that more and more. And of course I'm criticizing him right now for it. It's like, you were president for 8 years and literally nothing changed. Maybe, because of his charisma, the cognitive dissonance won't be enough. Maybe people will still laud him as one of our great presidents, but he is worried, and rightfully so, because hopefully history will condemn him as, like you said, Michael, ineffectual, weak, and a loser.
Yes.
And that all of this stuff, all of this press tour, this book is trying to shift the narrative, trying desperately to make sure that he is remembered as one of the great presidents at all. When, of course, as we have been through, he should be remembered as anything but.
There's something almost monarchical about it when you mention how basically what he almost wants is to achieve nothing and still be remembered as a fantastic person. And you kind of think about how obviously the reason I say monarchical is because people don't expect kings and queens to enact sweeping policies. They just kind of expect them to be like, nobody cares. Queen Elizabeth, when she, if she dies, will not be remembered in terms of what policies he put forth. It will just be like, oh, was she like a nice queen? Did she make you feel good about the UK? And
yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's
that's what liberals. That's why liberals love him.
That's why liberals love the monarchy too.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he was their perfect president, because he was just a guy who was a head of state who he made some nice speeches on the TV, and that was it. That's all a president should be for, and that's all Barack Obama was.
Yeah.
Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can!